Good evening, everyone. My name is Celeste La Cabra. Welcome back to my channel. Um, so I'm about a week late on this, but better late than never, I guess, right? Um, so today I wanted to do my Letterboxd recap for everything that I watched in the month of June. Um, I watched 66 films total, um, including rewatches and short films. So, pretty busy. Um, I guess I always want to preface this by saying that a lot of these are like supplementary documentaries and making ofs, behind the scenes stuff like that. So, you know, to try to keep that in perspective, I guess, a little bit. Um, a lot of these are feature length though, so what can you do? Um, I'm going to be talking a lot about films that I rented. Um, those are rented from 3dblu-rayrental.com. So if you want to know how you can rent boutique Blu-rays and 4Ks for very affordable prices, I'll have a link in the description. They don't sponsor me or anything. I just think they're great. So, yeah, I guess let's get into the video. So first up, we finished our rewatch of Lord of the Rings with the Return of the King on this 4K set. I mean, it's still perfect. Like everything about it is amazing and wonderful, and the 4K transfers are absolutely immaculate. So yeah, check out Lord of the Rings. Okay, next I started this bundle of documentaries by Lee Grant on the Criterion Channel. This one was pretty good. It's about a group of 8 women that basically went on strike and their, I guess, trials and tribulations as they go through that. It wasn't the most compelling start to this bundle, but it gets a lot better. So, okay, next, me and both of my partners went to go see the new Bob's Burgers movie in the theater, and we actually had the whole theater to ourselves, which was pretty nice. Um, Basically, it feels like a really polished, longer episode of the show with much better animation and just like you know it's definitely like it feels like a feature length version of like one of their best episodes. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Um, Next, I rewatched Battleship Potemkin. I watched the Kino Lorber Blu-ray of it. I had seen this in a Intro to Film Studies class uh, back in college, and I remember liking it, but not like loving it or anything like that. Definitely on rewatch, I think I appreciate it a lot more, both from a thematic and filmmaking standpoint. As a leftist, I definitely identify a lot with it, and I mean, it really is like as good as everyone says in terms of its cinematic greatness. So we followed that up with this documentary that I'm not going to try to pronounce. It was just kind of about the history of the different versions of it and tracking them down and the release history and everything like that. It was okay. Next, I rewatched The Mist, the Stephen King Frank Darabont horror film. I had seen this when I was in high school, and I'll try not to spoil anything, but I didn't like it because of the ending. That was when I was treating films at a much more surface level, sort of storyline only kind of viewpoint, I guess. So rewatching it and interpreting it more thematically, and also not expecting everything to have a feel-good ending, I actually really loved it. I thought it was really great. Um, it's a little bit cheesy. Some of the special effects don't really hold up. It's nothing at all like The Green Mile or The Shawshank Redemption, but yeah, I would recommend checking it out if you're into that kind of feel bad cosmic horror thing. Okay, next from the Columbia Classics Volume 1 set, I'm I watched with one of my partners A League of Their Own, this 4K transfer, which looks absolutely stunning. And I was a big fan of the film too. It is definitely very Hollywood, very palatable, very um, it's definitely got that kind of feel-good sports movie vibe to it. But you know, it's an interesting story that I think a lot of people don't know about. I didn't know anything about it before watching it, and yeah, I just think it's a really fun, enjoyable watch. So check out A League of Their Own. Next on the Criterion Channel, I watched Them, which is not the 1950s Killer Ants movie that I like better. This is I think it's Romanian. It's a kind of home invasion horror film. Um, it starts off really strong. It has this really great atmosphere, and it's like genuinely pretty chilling. But I think by the end of it, it kind of goes off the rails, and it's not. Again, not to spoil it, but by the end it gets pretty silly, and I'm not really as big a fan of it. We have another Hitchcock documentary off of the box set, which was pretty good. Now, I pulled out my Criterion copy of The Brood, which has this the original version of Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future on it. I watched that because I was planning on seeing the new one in the theater, and that never actually happened. But hopefully, I mean, I've heard that it's pretty different and that it's pretty good, and I hope that that ends up being true because I didn't like this one at all, unfortunately. I thought it was pretty excruciating, and it's definitely tough to sit through. Next, we have a couple North by Northwest documentaries off of the special features for that, which were pretty good. And then I actually watched the feature length, you know, the main attraction on this disc, The Brood, which was just fantastic. Like, it is so fucked up and disturbing, and Oliver Stone gives a great performance in it. I'm sorry, Oliver Reed gives a great performance in it. I mean, everybody's great in this one. It's this really great kind of commentary on motherhood as like body horror or as a punishment or as something to be terrified of, which is not a perspective you see often, but is one that I think makes a lot of sense when you think about all the things that go into birthing and creating and raising a child. I know that it is certainly also inspired by his events in his own life, and also Possession takes a lot of cues from this one, like almost rips off a couple ideas from this. Not that that's a bad thing, but like the influence is clearly there. Next was the documentary on the Criterion disc. It's called Birth Pains, which is a fun title. I really liked this. I thought that this was really insightful. The participants gave a lot of, not to use the same word again, but insightful comments and analyses and, you know, context for the film. Next, I rented the 4K UHD Vinegar Syndrome edition of Scanner Cop. After having watched Scanner Cop or Scanners 2 and 3 and really hating them, this was a nice change of pace because I actually thought it was pretty good. It's pretty off the wall, really violent, and a kind of intriguing idea too, where you have the scanner concept, but it's actually, you know, utilized by someone in a position of power, and maybe it doesn't explore that thematically as much as I would like to, but it's definitely fun for what it is. Next is another Lee Grant documentary, which I liked a lot better. It's called When Women Kill. It's a sort of all her documentaries, well, most of them are under an hour, pretty short, but still feature length, like you typically get in the 50-minute range. And this one was a really unique, for the time I imagine, or really bold for the time, kind of examination of women who are in prison for murder. It's actually a really sympathetic portrayal of almost all of these women. I mean, some of them Like, there's one of the Manson family was interviewed, and she was basically like, "Yeah, I feel terrible for what I did, and I'm trying to be a better person." But most of these women were just straight up like, "Yeah, my husband was gonna kill me, so I killed him first." Like, the answers that you get from these women would be night and day from the answers you would get from men in the same with the same sentences. You know, like it's like most of her documentaries. It's really heartbreaking, but it's also enlightening and thought provoking. I wish that they were easier to find and that like we could get a box set of these because like from here on out they're really really excellent. Okay, next went ahead and watched Scanner Cop 2, which to be honest, thinking about it, they're blurring a bit in my mind. I think this one gets really like way zanier than the first one, and there's still plenty of like crazy shit going on. I don't know. It's a wild film. Both of them are fun, but they don't really go beyond that. You know what I mean? Like they're crazy fun times, and that's about it. But Scanner Cop 2, I like it. Check it out. Ooh, next we get a little spicy, and we watch Dracula Sucks. This is a pornographic gothic horror film from the late 70s. Vinegar Syndrome put out the 4K of this. We rented it because I'd never seen any of their Peakorama titles before, and I wanted to get a taste, as it were. This one is weird. Like, it wasn't that sexy most of the time. A lot of the time, it was really violent and kind of gross, and like any like scenes of titillation are kind of interrupted by something really grotesque and awful. And it's also kind of artsy in the way that it's shot and edited and presented. I do think, and you know, you'll see as another one down the line that these kind of 70s pornographic films, a lot of them are legitimate films and are not just like, you know, shit you see on tube sites now or anything like that. Like, I think that, you know, the newer movie X goes into this a lot, that like a lot of these filmmakers who wanted to make legitimate films or art house films or exploitation films or something like that, were kind of pigeonholed or forced into this corner because it would make money. It would make their money back if they could make porn, essentially. But the creativity and the desire for expression is still there. So, I don't know. You get a bit of both. You know, I say it wasn't that erotic or arousing or whatever, and it was kind of gross. But my girlfriend and I did have sex after this was finished, so I guess it did its job. Next was Urban Legend. We watched this on Hulu, I think. It's not very good. Jared Leto was in it, who I hate. I don't know. Yeah, I just thought it was really silly, and the writing was atrocious. And it's kind of a fun idea, and there's some fun parts, and there's some fun quotes at the end. But like, yeah, I don't know, not that great. Um, Next was one that actually really surprised me. This is the 2003 remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. As you can see, I didn't give it the best rating, but I went into this expecting to hate it. In the first 15 minutes, I did really hate. Like, it was trying to be different, but it was also like taking a shit all over like what the point of the original was by like, it's like opened as like a true crime documentary or something. It's really annoying. But by the time it gets going, like this thing really is fucking gross and like unrelenting, sadistic, nasty horror for like, you know, an hour straight. It's just really, it's grimy and it's tough to watch, and I think it captures that vibe in that kind of hopeless, sadistic atmosphere pretty well. So I don't know, by the end of it I was into it. Next was one that I rented. This was a Severin title. It's called An Angel for Satan, which is a horribly misleading title because I guess minor spoiler alert, but there's nothing to do with Satan in this whole film. This is like a gothic Barbara Steele horror vehicle sort of deal. It's very Italian. It's very artsy. That's the thing I really want to emphasize, is that it's like incredibly artistic. I felt more like I was watching Bergman or Fellini watching this than Hammer or something like that. You know what I mean? Like the black and white photography is actually like completely stunning, and the way that shots are blocked and scenes are handled is just I just really loved it. I thought it was really great, and I hope more people see it. Um, Check it out. There was this kind of weird, like artsy short film included on it where Barbara Steele just kind of models furs. I think it's a loose adaptation of Venus in Furs. I didn't really get the point of it. It was okay, I guess. Okay, next I rewatched An Angel for Satan with the commentary from Kat Ellinger, again on the Severin disc. I really love her commentaries. She always has really insightful things to say, and I just really enjoy her approach to commentaries in general. So yeah, I recommend that. I went too far. Next is the Vinegar Syndrome 4K edition of Sex World with this, I mean, really just beautiful slipcover and packaging. It's so good, honestly. Both the package and the film, actually. I bought this on their Valentine's Day sale, which is kind of cute. I only bought one title. I thought that there was going to be more to it, but just the novelty of owning the very first pornographic film released in 4K UHD in my collection was enough to get me to pull the trigger on that one. But as I thankfully discovered, it's actually really great. Like it's a real film with like sex scenes in it, and you know, I'm of the opinion that like sex scenes don't detract from a film, or they're not a different thing in a film. Like a lot of people be like, oh, the sex was just in there, like because people want to see hot people having sex. It's like, I mean, why do you think the violence is in there? Why do you think anything is in there? It's to please the audience, or it's to further the story, or it's to realize the director's vision. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see it as a different thing, and I think people evaluate them differently than they do any other scene. Anyway, that long aside is to kind of get to my main point, which is like, this is actually a pretty interesting concept. Even though it's like a very, how do I say this? Blatant kind of like mockbuster of a Westworld, it does still, it kind of digs into an aspect of that that is underexplored in the film and kind of in the TV show too, where like, what would happen if you gave people the opportunity to fulfill any sexual desire that they had? That's an interesting concept, and it's one that can't really be explored if you don't show it. Now, obviously, some of the scenes would be overlong if it was just to explore that concept. Like, there clearly is, like, it is porn at the end of the day, but, like, I don't know. I thought seeing these characters kind of go through their arcs and explore their fantasies and learn things about themselves was actually pretty fascinating. And the soundtrack was really good too. Like, there's a real score on this thing, you know? Like, I don't know. I think people don't are expecting something else when they watch these, and I think that they might be pleasantly surprised. So check out Sex World. It's pretty dope. Okay, next was another Severin title that I rented. This was my first Jess Franco film. It's called She Killed in Ecstasy. Now, I might sound a bit hypocritical about this one because, like, right after talking up gratuitous sex scenes and everything, I don't know, actually. I don't think the problem with this film is that there's too much sex in it. If anything, there's not enough. Like, this is like a short film concept stretched out, and it kind of feels like an eternity. And it's shot really amateurishly, and there's just not a lot going on. It doesn't. I didn't like it, to be honest with you. Like, once you've seen the first scene, like, it's kind of just that over and over again, and then it kind of ends. And I don't know. I didn't think the performances were good. I didn't think the cinematography was good. Wasn't a fan, but that's okay. Next was another one on the Criterion channel, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. It was leaving, but I believe it's since been taken off of the leaving list. So if you have a subscription, you can still watch it, and I highly recommend that you do. This one is brutal. It is nihilistic. It is gross. It is, like, hopeless and grimy. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like people who kind of think that true crime is like this fun thing, like, you know, this like trendy thing or whatever, like, I don't know, check it out and maybe get a more realistic perspective of what some of this stuff looks like. The main performances in this are really pretty astonishing. I have a lot of admiration for what it does. It's really unflinching, and just really worthwhile film that I think is worth your time. Um, oh, a bit of a spoiler there. Next, I had this fun idea for a double feature, to watch Hitchcock's The Birds and then Birdemic. I thought we could follow up one of the most acclaimed films ever made with like one of the worst. So I finally got to finish up this 4K Classics collection set. It looked really good, and this was actually my first time seeing The Birds. I really liked Tippi Hedren's performance in this. Reading and learning about some of the behind the scenes is pretty unfortunate. Like the shit she went through to get this performance, like they really, I say they, it was Hitchcock, really put her through the ringer, you know? So that's unfortunate. But the film is really great, and there's a lot of impressive things happening. And I like the ambiguity of it too. Like you don't really know why this is happening or if it's going to end. Like there's definitely, I think, an obvious interpretation of just kind of nature's revolt against humanity and our pillaging of the planet or whatever. But I think there's a lot you could take out of it. That's to say, suffice it to say, I really like it. Next is Birdemic, which we'll talk about another film in my next Letterboxd recap that I think actually topped it. But when I watched this, I was pretty confident this was the worst film I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's actually astonishing how somebody could put out something this bad. Like, it's kind of hard to understand how anybody was involved with this and put the time and the money into it. It looked at the final product and was like, yeah, that's good. That's good. We should put that out. This is a good thing that we've done, you know? You know, the story is terrible, the visuals are terrible, the effects are unbelievably atrocious. But, I mean, really, the assault on sound design as an art form that this has is like, I mean, the whole thing really has to be seen to believed and heard to believed. Like, I had seen clips from it and I was kind of talking it up to my partners, like, you're not going to believe how bad this is. And even I was surprised watching it again, just how bad it is. I think you just have to see it to really understand. Like, there's nothing else like it. Next, we watched The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, the Criterion Blu-ray. Wes Anderson, big fan. This one, I really loved, as you can see from my score, but I think it's one of his best films. I think it's definitely underrated. I don't hear about it as much as I do, like Fantastic Mr. Fox or Grand Budapest or anything like that. But I think it deserves more appreciation. Like, I think it's really unique and really heartfelt and moving. Like, by the end of it, I was really emotional and really moved. I think it's a really compelling statement on the lengths people go to be remembered and the realization that the person you've become has hurt other people. He uses a Sigur Rós song in the pivotal emotional scene, and that is a pretty surefire way to get me to love your film. But yeah, if this has been a blind spot for you in the old Wes Anderson filmography, check it out. Okay, next in the Lee Grant saga. Boy, I wasn't sure what to expect with this one. It's called What Sex Am I? And I guess you can kind of guess from this really kind of not great poster and the title that this is a documentary about trans people from 1985. So it can only be great, right? And it actually is, so that was a nice surprise. There's actually a lot of doctors interviewed who are very compassionate and understanding about the whole thing. There's family members who are interviewed who are actually very compassionate and understanding, partners, and then, you know, of course you have the other end of it where people are awful and terrible, but like, what else is new? You know, if you can track this one down, you should check it out. It's as a historical document. I don't know that it's going to teach you anything, but as a historical document, it's pretty incredible. Then we had some of the Criterion supplements for the Life Aquatic film. Just kind of a regular making of, and then there's this kind of fun thing where one of the actors kind of made like a film journal of his experience on the set, and that one was actually pretty fun to watch. This one here was really long. This is an adventure, and it's directed by the Maysles brothers, who did the Cristo documentaries that I love so much. And it was just like nothing, like nothing going on, no, just meandered random clips, it felt like. But people seem to really like it. I don't know, maybe I was missing something, maybe I need to check it out again, but I didn't get it. Next we have the Making of Psycho documentary. You know, I popped this in hoping to kind of blast through the special features, and then I saw that this thing was like an hour 45 minutes or something like that, which was intimidating, but by the time I got done with it, I was really happy that it was that long. Like, you know, I kind of wish every great film had a documentary this expansive and this good to go with it and contextualize it and document it and talk about it, you know? Like, there's so much great stuff in here, and if you can find it, or if you have the disc, you should definitely take the time to watch it. A couple more Hitchcock documentaries, which were pretty fine. Next we rented the Aerovideo 4K of Kenneth Branagh's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I liked it. I kind of wish Francis Ford Coppola had been able to do this, like, to go with the Dracula one. But it's clear that our buddy Kenneth here was really passionate about this project and really passionate about casting himself shirtless and making a very histrionic Frankenstein adaptation. Yeah, a lot of people really hate this, and I kind of get it. It's like, it's so ridiculous and it's so over the top, but I don't know, I kind of like that. Like, we have a lot of Frankenstein adaptations, and I've seen a lot of them, and you know, this definitely isn't as by the book as I think he likes to think it is, but it's pretty close, and I don't know. Robert De Niro's performance is pretty good. The whole thing looks pretty good. It's just so bombastic and out there, and I had fun with it. Included as a fun supplement is this 1910 silent version of Frankenstein, which is actually the very first filmed adaptation of the story. It's not actually the James Whale version. This was crazy. Like, it was really almost kind of scary and really bizarre, and the monster in this looks so strange. Like, nothing you would expect. There's this really, like, horrific transformation sequence in it. This is probably on YouTube. You should check it out. Okay, next we have the Criterion edition of Moonrise Kingdom, which I thought was great. I don't know, Wes Anderson doesn't really miss. Like, I like all of his stuff. This was really fun and cute and well made and well acted, and like, I feel like the later era you get, or the later you get in his filmography, the more of his Wes Anderson isms, I guess, are just so up front, and like, you know who made it immediately. You know, like, he does what he does it well, and he's not ashamed of it. He's not really interested in changing that up. He's just interested in exploring new stories in his own way, you know what I mean? Yeah, I thought this was really great. Next was the Birds documentary, which was actually, I think, around the same length as the Psycho one. Again, this one was really great. It went pretty in depth as to the making of, like, the actual nitty gritty. How the hell did they achieve all these special effects? How did they get these incredible sequences? Tippi Hedren is in it a lot, talking about her experience, good and bad, on the film, you know? Again, I wish there was one of these for every film of this caliber. Check it out. There were some kind of bizarre little supplements on the Moonrise Kingdom disc. This one was kind of fun, I guess. I I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I think oh yeah, the narrator is like kind of walking you through the locations and the setting, I guess, of the film. This one was really fascinating. So in the film, the little girl has a lot of books that she brings around, her favorite books that she stole from the library, and they're not real. Like they made them for the film. They made the illustrations specifically for the film, you know. So on this one, they have little short vignettes where different directors and writers have like, or I guess just different writers have actually written a page from each of these fake books to kind of, I don't know, you get like a peek into this book that doesn't even exist. Some of them are really good, and the animations that go with it are really fun. This was really cool. I would have liked to see this expanded upon. And then I guess this thing was like a little promotional video or something where the troupe in the film is having the film screened to them by Jason Schwartzman's character. It was pretty fun. It's cute. Okay, so next, we were just on a Wes Anderson kick. So we went ahead and watched our Criterion edition of the Darjeeling Limited, which starts with the Hotel Chevalier, I hope I pronounced that right, short film with Jason Schwartzman and Natalie Portman. I actually thought this short was really incredible, like really great. As you can see from my score, I liked it better than the feature film attached to it. And you know, honestly, I think it was so good that it kind of, I don't want to say ruined, but caused me to incorrectly calibrate my expectations for the film itself. It's just a completely different tone. Like, Darjeeling is a lot of, like, it's like a fun kind of adventure. There's definitely some emotional core to it, but Hotel Chevalier is like, it's very heavy emotionally. Like, it does a lot in its runtime. But overall, I thought that Darjeeling Limited was still pretty great. It's not my least favorite of Wes Anderson's films. I think that's Isle of Dogs still, but I'd probably put it above that. I don't know. I think I'm remembering it more fondly now than when I first watched it, but yeah, it's still really good and you should check it out. Next, just to get me complete on his whole filmography, before The French Dispatch, these two little short films we watched. This one, Castello Cavalcanti, was weird, and I didn't get it. It's just like nothing happened. There was a couple funny little moments, but bizarre. I don't know. I think like Prada produced it. It's just like a promotional piece for them or something. This was a commercial for I forget who, so I guess it wasn't that effective. But it's like a cute little Christmas commercial that he directed, and it's pretty Christmassy and heartwarming, and I liked it. Then the making of, which was okay. And then I cracked open that Scream Factory set that I just bought and watched The Omen for the first time. I can't believe that something that blatantly satanic was like put out. Like, it's crazy. The title theme is amazing. Like this kind of Satan worshipping chant sort of thing. I wonder how he got acquired to do that, but when Ghost got one for Infestus Sumum, like they couldn't find one. Maybe because it was in Latin, it was okay. I don't know. This has some really insane like death scenes in it. Some really cool set pieces, some really cool ideas behind it. I don't know. I really liked it. You should watch The Omen. Okay, next I rented the first film from that Severin Nasty Habits box because I didn't want to drop like $40 on it if it's like not actually very good. The first one is called Christiana Devil Nun. It's actually a pretty fascinating film. It's definitely like a nunsploitation softcore sort of thing. I only discovered until after finishing the film that the American version is actually more explicit and inserts some hardcore scenes with like different actors, I think. I'm not really sure, but it didn't look like the same people to me. But I watched the Italian version, as I'm wont to do, and it's actually a pretty interesting sort of character exploration. The second half kind of goes off the rails and I think loses its footing and doesn't really know what it's trying to do anymore. But the first half of it, where like you kind of have this nymphomaniac who decides to become a nun to like force herself to be chaste or whatever, I thought was pretty intriguing. And I think this is supposed to be like the worst film in the set, and it was already like pretty compelling and I think worth owning and revisiting and talking about. So I'll probably get this out at some point to check out the rest of them. Next, I watched my new copy of The Forbidden Zone. I talked about this film at pretty great length, actually, on my video, where I was talking about it when I bought it, so check that out. But I love this one. I think it's really great. Okay, next is Cemetery Man, or Della Morte della Morte, as it's called in Italian, which is the better title, obviously. But anyway, gosh, I didn't like this at all, and I'm trying to figure out why I am the odd one out on this one, because people love this film. I felt like I was watching like a really terrible British TV pilot, and it just wouldn't end. It just kept going forever. I don't know, something about the way it was filmed. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. I felt like I was watching bad TV. Um, Now, there's some really cool sets in this. Like, there's a really great scene in a crypt, and the one in the graveyard is pretty good. I don't know. Parts of this were really gross and like a little bit offensive, and like, ugh. I didn't like it, honestly. A quick side note: I watched the Italian version because I'm starting to notice on these Italian horror films where they do this thing that I hate, where they don't give a fuck about the actual voice acting, and they just shoot everything silent, and then they have random actors apparently like dub over it in various languages for various markets, so that like it doesn't match the mouth movements and it doesn't match the subtitles. So I'm a person who needs subtitles. So when I put on the English dub and put on the subtitles, they didn't match because the subtitles are for the Italian. So I was like watching it in Italian. I was like, I don't like this at all. Is it because of the dub? Is there like a bunch of jokes I'm missing? Like, should I watch the English version? And I turned on the English version for a bit. I couldn't have subtitles, and it was worse. Like, I thought the jokes were worse, and the voice acting was worse. So I put back the Italian and could have my subtitles, and the writing was just infinitely better, but still not great. What can you do? What you can do, Blu-ray companies, is have a subtitle track for each option, or at least have one that matches. I don't know. This is the end of my rant. Next, I finally watched No Country for Old Men for the first time. Coen Brothers film. Everybody but me has probably seen it and loves it. That's not to say that I don't love it, because I gave it a very high score, and I do really love it. God, it's such a bleak, nihilistic kind of, I want to say like atheistic sort of take on Westerns, on noir, on a little bit of horror maybe. Like, there's a lot of genres going on in this, and man, that performance from the central antagonist is just, he won the Oscar, which I'm really happy about because he really deserved it. But I mean, it is just absolutely stunning. Like, he is such a force on screen. I can't think of another performance like it. It's just got to be one of the best villains ever written and ever performed. Hoping to read the book soon. I went ahead and rented it from the library, the audiobook, because I was just so impressed with it. But definitely check it out. Although I'm sure you probably already have. I'm just late to the party. Next, I rewatched Paul Thomas Anderson's There Will Be Blood. God, it's such an incredible film. I love it so much. I wanted to rewatch this because after watching No Country for Old Men, I kind of think of these two as like this two sides of the same coin. They both came out the same year. They're both kind of like gritty, sort of violent period pieces, I guess. There's just something about them that I feel works together as a double feature or as spiritual successors to each other. Daniel Day-Lewis just gives one of the best performances I've ever seen in this. It's really long, but like not a moment of it is wasted. Paul Dano, I think this might be his best performance. The ending scene in the bowling alley is like one of my favorite scenes ever filmed, I think. I watched this in high school and I thought it was kind of slow, but I did love it. And I don't know, rewatching this, I loved everything about it. Johnny Greenwood's score is so good. I could gush about it for a while. And then the last of my stack of discs that I watched this month is this Arrow release of Tetsuo the Iron Man. This is the first disc in the Tsukamoto box set. Yeah, Tsukamoto. I have the whole thing, but I just pulled out the one disc for the purposes of this video. You've never seen a film like this in your life, I can almost guarantee it. It's another one that I really can't describe to you. It's just something you have to experience. But it is incredible. The visuals are astounding, and it's actually pretty gay, which is nice too. So check that out. Then I watched the sequel, which was not as good, but it was completely different. It's hard to compare. This is a sort of stylistic neo-noir take on it that's still really bizarre and fucked up, and the director is like playing a sexy vampire type guy, like again. I don't know, in all three of these films I'm going to talk about, he took the opportunity to like wear a lot of makeup and look really hot in his own movies, so something going on there, I guess. Yeah, if you note that when this came out in 1992, this looks a lot like The Matrix, and I feel like The Matrix, the Wachowski sisters might have been influenced by this. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I noticed a lot of stylistic similarities. This one's pretty hard to follow, or, like just like the first one, even though it's like much more standard filmmaking, I think it's just as hard to follow the plot, and so yeah, I had a bit of a hard time with that, but it's still really great. Finally on the disc was one of his early kind of, it's not really a short film because it's like 45 minutes I think, but it's like, you know, kind of his first attempt. It's like shot on 16mm, kind of rough around the edges, kind of time-traveling adventure story. It's cute and I like it. It's definitely worth checking out, and I'm glad I have it on the disc. I'm losing my voice here, so I'm going to try to blast through these last ones, but on the There Will Be Blood disc, this was a included short film from 1923, kind of just like, I think it was commissioned by the American government, kind of explaining how petroleum mining works, and they got Johnny Greenwood to do a new score for it, and it's like really haunting and strange, I guess. It's not at all like the music would have been when it came out, like that kind of jaunty, like, oh, this is fun, we're learning today, you know. It's like really sinister, like, oh, we're destroying the planet, that's fun, like that kind of thing. The No Country for Old Men making of was really great. Again, like they really go into, you know, both the technical making of, but also like the thematic thought process behind the whole thing, character motivations and all that. I really liked it. God, I'm trying not to talk too much, but these last few films I have a lot to say about. We watched Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. We rented that one. I didn't know that this was supposed to be like the end of the Godzilla franchise at the time, because it just has like the standard title that they all have. I would have thought you'd want to call it like the end of Godzilla or something to kind of give it that grandness. So, I mean, I guess I wasn't expecting what I got, which was such an incredible and emotional film. Okay, not only is the Godzilla design in this like sick as fuck, and Destoroyah's design is like sick as fuck, and it's just like they're so fucking cool, and like the way it looks is so good, and the direction and the special effects are both so good. Like I almost cried twice watching this film. Like it is so emotional, and I don't know, it's probably my third-ish favorite Godzilla film that I've seen. It's up there. Check it out. And then I guess the reboot to kind of answer that piece of shit 1998 Roland Emmerich Abomination that came out. Japan kind of put this out as their answer, Godzilla 2000, and unfortunately I didn't like it very much. It's really slow and boring and nothing really happens, and the special effects are atrocious, which is astounding to me because it's the same director 4 years later. I don't know how you get your special effects to look that much worse, but they do. Orga, the monster at the end, is dope, and I love him, but their battle is kind of anticlimactic. It just kind of fizzles out and meanders. Maybe I'll like it again more if I watch it again, because my expectations were kind of high, but God, here I go. It's got the same color palette as the American one, and it's clearly taking cues from that. Like, okay, we see what you did. We can do that too, but better. And I mean, it is better, but like, you know, it's like lipstick on a pig or whatever, as they say. Like, you know, I don't know. It's okay. Next, from Paul Schrader, we have Light Sleeper, starring Willem Dafoe. This is a pretty good neo-noir about drug dealers. It has this like soundtrack that is just so much. Like, the songs are so cheesy and loud and in your face. Like, Willem Dafoe is walking around at night feeling down and, you know, feeling depressed, and you got this like fucking 80s cheeseball song over it where like the dude is like crooning as loud as possible about his broken. It's just a lot. But overall, I did really like it. I'd like to see it again sometime. Okay, I wanted to go ahead and knock out the rest of these Lee Grant documentaries before they left. This one's called Down and Out in America. It's kind of a scathing indictment of Reaganomics and the American dream. It just kind of goes through various examples of people. I mean, down on their luck is putting it like mildly. Like, these people are just completely fucked. Like, America has like thrown them in the gutter and like left them to rot. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, this is like honestly so fucking depressing. Like, I finished this feeling like shit. Like, wow. My problems mean nothing. Like, I have it so good and I'm still fucking depressed. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, that kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like, it's rough. Like, especially the last couple segments, like, it just gets worse. Like, it starts out kind of like, yeah, man, that sucks. And then by the end of it, you're like, there's no way anybody can believe God is real. You know what I mean? Like, it's so depressing and sad, but enlightening and worth watching for sure. Well made and everything. I guess because I wasn't feeling bad enough, I went ahead and watched this other one that she did. It's called Battered. It's about women who have faced domestic abuse. And it's also about the men who propagate it, you know? So you have these interviews with the women who go through it, and then you have interviews with not the same men who are responsible, but different men who are responsible for their own abuse, or the abuse of their own wives. I think this is her best documentary. I think it's absolutely amazing. Like, it is so chilling and disturbing and enlightening. It's a tough watch. It really is. I mean, I don't want to give too much away, I guess. I don't like talking like that in terms of documentaries, but like, you should just seek it out and watch it. It's incredible. Okay, almost done. The last day of the month, I wanted to go ahead and knock out a couple Criterion Channel titles that were leaving. So we watched this one, Saving Face, which is a lesbian romantic comedy from 2004 about some Chinese American women. This was so great and sweet and fun and cute and still sad in some parts, because like gay people can't catch a break, but like, you know, it's so good. It's so good. You should watch it. If you like romantic comedies, or if you don't like romantic comedies because they're so straight usually, you should check this out. It definitely has a lot of those rom-com tropes that are kind of annoying sometimes, but like, man, it's great. I have my critiques about some parts of it, especially the ending, but I won't talk about that here. So check out Saving Face. It's great. And then finally, the last Lee Grant documentary. It's called A Father, a Son, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's about Kirk Douglas and his son Michael Douglas. It kind of goes through their history in Hollywood, their relationship, their struggles. I don't think it's a puff piece. Like, I think it kind of goes fairly in depth about like their faults and their struggles that they've gone through. Now, I think this was before the rape allegations against Kirk Douglas came out, so that's not in here, but I don't think that's omission. I think that's just lack of information that was out at the time. But this is her longest one that I've seen. It's like 90 minutes, and I actually thought it was pretty fascinating. I thought it was worth checking out for sure. That's it. That's everything I watched. I know I was slacking this month, what, with 66 films, but yeah, we're on track for something like that this month too. I've been really watching a lot. So yeah, if you want to follow me, hang out on the internet with me, there's links down there in the description. You can follow my Letterboxd. You can follow me on Instagram, and I think my Rate Your Music and Last.fm are in there too. Something like that. I'm not that hard to find. Please leave me comments to read so I can interact with you all, and we can have a nice, robust discussion. Leaving a like on the video helps other people find my videos in my channel, which would help me out a lot because I'm trying to grow this thing. Subscribing obviously helps with that too. Yeah, I think that's the housekeeping at the end there. Okay. I love you all very much, and I hope that your day ends better than it started.